Welcome to the Late Night Race Review. K-Mag tests the Tech Pro and brings out the red. Ricciardo gets his best dress on, but will Horner notice him? And did Perez finally seal his fate at home? It's the Mexican GP. We wrap it up with a look at our fantasy league and our predictions game, as always. Don't forget to support the podcast by hitting those like, follow and subscribe buttons. Welcome back to the Late Night Race Review. I am Owen Scott, and with me as always is Dave Jericho and Isidro Consalvish. And in what was a blistering hot high-altitude weekend in Mexico City, it looked like all but a home victory for Sergio Perez for about 100 metres until turn one. And then it went back to business as usual with Max Verstappen winning. Dave, give me your outlook on the weekend overall before we actually get into talking about Max as usual.
Do you know, the weekend overall was fine. I thought the build up to the race, I was expecting a bit more of a I think I was expecting more from today's race than we got. I think the kind of some drivers being out of position. Look, it was fine. I think K-Mag saved it for me though.
It was it turned into a bit of a snooze fest, maybe, Isidro, until the K-Mag red flag?
Not from what I could see. It was a good fight. I was watching the AlphaTauris. They know how to do upgrades, unlike Aston Martin. And Norris was actually doing a good race. The K-Mag incident was a bit unfortunate, especially because it delayed the start again. And to be fair, I was waiting to see if there was any other crash or if Leclerc was putting Hamilton out of the race. But no, after all the commotion, it went just like I said, Max take the lead and that's it. But the Norris drive, I think it was excellent.
Yeah. Well, let's zoom in on Max Verstappen, Dave. What did you think of him this weekend? He had a P3 in the quali, but ended up coming out on top as per usual today.
That's what I was saying. Where I thought the build up to the race was kind of gave me false hope. I thought we were going to have something a little closer, but as I was saying last week, I think we got lured into a false sense of teams catching the Red Bulls. And today, I think we just saw that Red Bull is just still dominant. I mean, what was the final time? 13, 14 seconds ahead of
13.8.
Yeah.
What was it?
13.8.
13.8. And that was after 36 laps, I think we had on the restart. So, yeah, that car is dominant. He sets more records. And I'm sure he's probably going to do that for the next 3 races. I think we've got 3 races left of the season. Just a well-controlled drive. I mean, he lunged it into turn 1. I think he did well. Obviously, we'll talk about the incident involving Perez and stuff like that in a minute. But I think Max got a great start, did well. Once he got into turn 1, that was it. Good luck.
Both Red Bulls had a blistering start, and someone who also lunged into turn number 1 was Sergio Perez. Isidro, give me your breakdown of what could be a little bit of an underline under Sergio Perez's career at the moment.
Yeah, that incident turn 1 really was not what Perez was expecting for this weekend. Especially considering that Hamilton did 19 points today, and Perez crashed his car. Not good. But to be fair, turn 1 incident was no one's fault. It was just a race incident. I mean, Leclerc could not go anywhere unless Leclerc back down or Perez back down. There was nothing more than just the crash that we saw. And that was the end of it for Perez, unfortunately. And we could see a lot of people leaving the circuit after that because they were there to see Perez. Perez crashed. I'm going home, not sitting for hours in traffic or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Perez referenced Senna in saying that once a racing driver stops going for those gaps, he's not really a racing driver anymore. But
But
Dave, go on,
I
yeah,
still
go on.
blame. I 100% blame Perez for wiping himself out.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
like
Elaborate.
the gap was there. He went for it. That's great. You can absolutely do that. But then he decided in turn one on the opening lap of a race to try and take the apex of the corner and cut in rather than hang it out wide on turn one where there would have been space and he would have okay he probably wouldn't have got first but he would have certainly still been in the race. Um but yeah, no, he decided it was completely his own fault, like regardless of whether he thought Charles Leclerc had the ability to move over or not. He decided to fucking swing it down into turn one and try and take the apex when he was on the outside, like on the opening lap of the race. Yeah, 100% his fault, absolutely. And another reason why I think he won't be at Red Bull next year. Just absolute fucking madness, like.
Cedro, I am Christian Horner for a second. Give me one good reason why
They're
I'm
looking rough
keeping
these days, Christian.
less ginger than usual. But anyway, yeah, give me one good reason why I'm keeping you, Sergio Perez, in that seat next year now after what happened today.
He's got Jerry Halliwell hostage.
Probably at the moment, I don't think he has other options unless he goes into AlphaTauri and gets DanielRicciardo from there. I think he might need to stuck with Paris for another year.
I mean, the Red Bull, is there always other options there? They have money.
They have money, but other drivers, I don't think they are looking for that. They know how that second seat will look like. It will be more a wingman for Max rather than driving for themselves. I mean, Norris, I don't see Norris leaving McLaren. I don't see Leclerc or Sainz. Well, I'm sure they would love to leave Ferrari, but I'm not sure if that second Red Bull seat would be ideal for them. Or Albon from Mercedes. I don't see he wants to get back to Red Bull. He knows what happened there.
Dave, if I'm Danny Ricciardo, I'm sitting in an AlphaTauri, admittedly, which was greatly improved today. But do I take another shot at Red Bull? He gunned it into the back of Max Verstappen before. Could he maybe just take a chance again and see if he can just a last bite of the cherry, perhaps?
You know, if there was a drive there going for him in Red Bull, I think he would absolutely snap their hand off. But that's their only option for next season is Daniel Ricciardo. There's nobody else that's going to, like everyone else is in contract. So there's not a single team that's going to give up their number one driver or even their number two driver if they're somewhat competitive to Red Bull. So their only option is a rookie, which Helmut Marko isn't going to do, or Daniel Ricciardo. And at the moment, I don't know how you would argue to keep Perez and not just run. Like, if you know this is what you're going to get from Perez, why not just roll the dice then and give Daniel Ricciardo a go? I mean, it makes no difference. You're not losing. If Daniel Ricciardo tanks, he's probably not going to tank any worse than Sergio Perez is at the moment. So you might as well just try something until there's contracts up for negotiation.
So little driver swap maybe between Red Bull and AlphaTauri.
Oh, well, I'd imagine if AlphaTauri get rid of Daniel Ricciardo, I can imagine Liam Lawson will probably come back in. I'd say Sergio Perez might find some time on the bench for a while, picking up Daniel Ricciardo's underwear modeling job.
Right, lads, let's take a little jump to before we get to Lewis Hamilton. Let's talk about Ferrari. Great qualifying session. They got a P1 and a P2. Today they finished P3, P4. Were they slightly unlucky, or was Charles Leclerc slightly unlucky to end up in the side of a Red Bull, Dave?
Yeah, I mean there was nothing Charles Leclerc could do. He was sandwiched between the two of them, but that I don't think would have made any difference. Even if he had made turn one, he would have still been overtaken by Verstappen anyway. I don't think there's much really to say about the Ferraris. I think they probably got everything that could have been gotten out of that car this weekend. They just did not have the pace. I don't think there was any when they stayed out for so long, I thought, oh God, they're making another blunder here on the strategy. Um, but I don't think it would have made any difference. They just didn't seem to have the pace on the hards, the mediums. Like it just didn't matter. I think they got as much as they were going to get out of that car this weekend, the two of them.
Hmm. Carlos Sainz, Isidro, anything to add about him before we move away from Ferrari?
Before I move away, not on Carlos Sainz, but when Leclerc got the pole position, the usually drivers are very happy. Leclerc was like, "Oh, I know what's going to happen.
Oh,
Collision
we're
next
losing
time,"
Isidro again.
and we finish P6. And today, not so bad. I think the main issue was the cooling, and that was the main issue with the Ferraris. Mercedes was doing better. And Sainz, I think, he did a good job keeping Russell away and kind of protecting Leclerc to get the P3. But like they were saying, I think Ferrari did nothing wrong. I think they were expecting the medium on the Mercedes to not last as long as they did. I think that was their main bet this weekend, was that the medium was not last. But unfortunately for them, the mediums last, and Hamilton got the P2 and P3 P4 for the Ferrari.
Yeah, probably the best they could have hoped of, really, with the blistering pace of Lewis Hamilton, and as you say, the Ferraris seem to be sitting ducks for Hamilton, Dave, who just really had amazing pace today.
Yeah, the Mercedes are getting good. I'm actually surprised Russell didn't do better, but the Mercedes are getting good. The Yeah, I again similar when they did on the race start. When I saw them on the mediums, I was like, a lot of those drivers were struggling to get to lap 30 on those mediums without kind of skidding all over the track. So I thought with 36 laps to go on those mediums, I really thought the Ferraris were, even though if they didn't have the pace to go toe to toe with the Mercedes, I thought just on pure tire wear degradation they would have managed it. But whether that Mercedes just handled the tires really well or the Ferraris were just that shit, I don't know. But yeah, Hamilton did a great job. And God, Jesus, please, someone just get a car that can compete with the Red Bulls sometime soon. Like,
George Russell, Isidro, the second week in a row, possibly the third week in a row, that he's fallen behind pace-wise against his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Are we seeing now a bit of a gap opening up between the two drivers here, or is it just a few unlucky weekends for George Russell?
I think it's more down to unlucky George. This weekend, for instance, I think Mercedes Hamilton was doing a better job taking care of those medium tires and keeping the second place, while Russell was struggling. And I think didn't help was that Hamilton was in second, far away from Max, which means that the track was clear. There was cooling air coming in, while Russell was basically stuck in traffic, and that didn't help either. So I think it was just unlucky. I don't think Russell is under pressure of losing that second seat at Mercedes.
Oh
Not
yeah,
right now.
no, I don't think that's in question really. Lewis Hamilton seems to need a car underneath him that he's perfectly happy with driving, whereas Russell tends to be able to drive whatever's put in front of him. That crappy Williams he was driving a few years ago, but Hamilton seems to be comfortable now in that Mercedes over the last few weeks, and his form has been improving because of that, Dave.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we heard it at the start of the season, just constantly kind of moaning about that car just not suiting them. And now, yeah, exactly what's happening. Like the upgrades that have been coming have been working well for them. Hopefully, it bodes well for them for next season as well. But with Mercedes, they tend to start making adjustments and start making improvements, and then all of a sudden the car comes out next year and it's completely different, and we're back to Hamilton saying, what have you done to the car? So but look, let's hope they stick with it. It's great. I would love to see Lewis get that 8th title. So yeah, long may the improvements continue.
I started writing my questions about halfway through the race today, and in my order, Danny Rick came next because at the time I think he was up in around fourth position. Um, Danny Rick, he's only back one race, two races now. Is it one or two races? One,
It's the second
Two,
race.
isn't it?
second race back.
Yeah, second race, yeah.
With an unbelievable performance, a P4 in quali, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then finishing P7 today in an AlphaTauri. Just absolutely phenomenal. Dave, break down DanielRicciardo. Were you surprised by this performance?
I was surprised. Yeah, I suppose from the AlphaTauri. I don't really know where it came from. I don't know. Did they bring some upgrades? Was the upgrades for the US or was it this weekend, Zero?
Singapore was the first time then when you bring the upgrades
But did they bring any extra upgrades since? No.
in Austin last
Awesome.
week.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. So I mean, clearly worked. I mean, even Sonoda looked fairly pacey. I know he was kind of down towards the end of the pack through his own fucking fault.
Yeah.
But he's that car looked really quick. And straight line speed was rapid. But again, DanielRicciardo, he came out. I was kind of hoping he didn't jinx himself. He came out at the start of the race or after the qualifying, should I say, and he was just kind of saying that he felt he was back to his old self. And I was like, oh, this just bodes for a turn one back of Sergio Perez fucking incident or something like that. But so yeah, I was really surprised, and I was more surprised not only at the P4, but I was sort of waiting to see him just sort of drop back the pack, straight away. I expected sort of by the sort of 10 laps in or something, he was going to be outside the top 10. But that, never happened. He managed to hold on and he drove the socks out of that car. And it's, it's great. And more reason probably why he's hanging his helmet outside the shop window.
Oh, his helmet hanging in the breeze.
Hanging in the shop window for Red Bull to come and pick it up.
The only problem I see, Isidro, maybe you agree with me, maybe don't, with DanielRicciardo is that he shows these flashes and signs of brilliance, and then the next race it's gone again, and we're back to unlucky DanielRicciardo. Can he maintain this sort of form, or is this just a flash in the pan as usual?
I think the car is there. If he is still in the very good shape for the next three races, it's still open because he had. To be fair, I think he did better since he came after the accident than before. Of course, the car being upgraded also helps. So I think it's still up in the air if this is to continue or not. And I think maybe because there's a bit of pressure, because Ricciardo knows that if he doesn't do well, Liam Lawson is just there waiting, and he's good, he's young, and he's proved that he can take that seat.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he was driving that AlphaTauri before the upgrades, so we haven't seen Liam driving the new or the upgraded AlphaTauri.
Dave, do you have something you want to say there?
All I was thinking was when Norris overtook Ricciardo, I thought, like, if I was DanielRicciardo and was in that seat, I was just like, there's another fucking car that I used to drive for that is now doing better once again than I am.
Well, I mean, when you've driven for half of the grid, it's not hard to have these cars.
Grannies with shopping trolleys about to be overtaking him one of these days soon.
Let's have a little chat about the K-Mag red flag. It was it a rear suspension failure? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
He had no control over that at all. It wasn't really it wasn't driver error, was it?
Well, I'd say it. Well, probably. Yeah, I'd say. Well, I don't know. I don't know unless Zidro, I don't know whether you know or not. I didn't see anything since, but unless it was from him excessively riding the curbs, which then damaged the suspension and in turn caused the failure. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. The Sky commentators are saying that the fact that he left the track a few laps before that and went through a lot of dirt, that could have probably damaged a little bit. but there was no really conclusion. Only that was the rear right suspension breaking.
Mm.
And big beneficiaries of the, or a big beneficiary of this red flag, Lando Norris. I'd kind of thought with starting on the soft tire that he was going to make up more time and we're going to see him fly through the grid, but he seemed to be stalling in the first few laps. But my God, did he come back with a vengeance, Dave?
Oh yeah, I was the same. I thought when he was on the soft tires, I was like, for ages, like he's still in 15th, like 14, 15, something like that. I was like, what the hell's going on those soft tires? It just wasn't working for him at all. Like,
Yeah.
especially how compared to how aggressive he was in the second half of the race. But yeah, I know Zidro was kind of saying that he thought the whole race, the race as a whole was entertaining. For me, I didn't think it really kicked off until the K-Mag incident and we got the second standing start, because I thought we got half the grid were on the hard compound tires, half the grid were on the medium compound tires, and it just sort of gave a nice mix. And we also got a sort of a second standing start again. And like you say, with Lando Norris, he just, I don't know, he just went full beast mode and just started, like, I mean, the tires just did. He was driving the absolute life out of the tires, but they just didn't seem to go off, and he just kept going and going. And like I think Martin Brundle was saying on commentary, like had he got probably another 5-6 laps or something, he may even have ended up catching Carlos Sainz as well for P4. Like he was on an absolute charge. But the thing is, I don't know. I wonder, had he have not been out of position after the poor qualifying, would he have put in a drive like that? I know Lando. Yeah. I mean, he keeps getting driver of the day and stuff like that, so I know he does put in great drives. But there's a difference between the driver of the day and then what he did today, like, and what he managed to get out of those medium compound tires. So, so for all of that alone, I mean, Lando Norris well deserves the driver of the day, which he got from the fan votes, because absolutely incredible drive.
Yeah. Cedro, break down what happened yesterday in qualifying for me with Lando. These are the yellow flag made things rather hard for him to pick up any time. Is that what resulted in the P19?
No idea about that. Sorry.
I was waiting for that. I love that. I'm so glad it wasn't me.
Dave, can you break down what happened to Lando in qualifying?
No.
Oh, great. Not even going to bother.
Didn't he get a time deleted or something like that as well?
That was Albon.
Oh, that was Alex Albon.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother editing anything out. We'll leave that in there.
Yeah, that's great. We all fucked that up. No one has a clue what happened in qualifying.
As far as I know, he had a little bit of a slip up coming into the last few turns, and also there was the yellow flag. I think it was Alonso yellow flag, caused him to not be able to get a final run out, apparently.
Look at this bollocks of a host. Comes in here knowing that we only prep for the fucking race day, and he's got fucking stuff prepped for fucking qualifying, and asks us questions that he knows we don't have prepped for, and then proceeds to answer it himself.
It's classic gaslighting, Dave. Classic.
Love it.
Right, Oscar Piastri. Dave, break down Oscar Piastri for me. This guy is consistently top 10. The dude is pure box office. The McLaren just have a superstar in their hands, don't they?
Yeah, class rookie season he's having, isn't it? I thought though there was a huge pace difference though between. I mean, you saw how quick, and again, I think this just highlights how good Lando Norris was today, because those two are usually fairly close on pace in qualifying and race pace, especially of late. Yet we saw how quickly Lando caught Piastri and passed him. Now I know there was team orders then in the end to switch them around, but yeah, just sort of highlighted how quick Lando was going on those mediums. But take nothing away from Oscar as well. Incredible drive again, consistently in the top 10. Yeah, I think McLaren, I'd say, are rubbing their hands together. If they can get continue to build with their car, they've got a great driver pairing now for next season.
Yeah, and that momentum from the end of this season, which they seem to be carrying week in, week out, is going to really make them challengers for, well, let's be honest, maybe P2 in the Constructors' Championship next year.
Oh, you don't think anyone's competing with Red Bull for next season either?
I don't think so. I
Oh
don't think
God, that's grim.
so. I'm happy to see who comes second, though. Right, lads. Before we move on, there, just take a look down the grid.
You
We have
sound like you were going to get into advertising or something there for a second.
meundies.com. No. Listen, the end of
Give
the
you a
grid here.
Manscaped demo right here on on the podcast.
No, that's another podcast that I host, and we talk about manscaping. Yeah, Logan Sargent, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Kevin Magnussen, and Sergio Perez, all DNFs. I didn't notice that happen. Maybe this is during my my brief stint of sleeping.
Your siesta.
Yeah. What happened to these guys? Logan Sargent, Lance Stroll, and Fernando Alonso. What was the crack there?
Logan Sargent, I actually have no idea what happened to him. Happened on lap 70. So,
Right.
I know he. Yeah, I actually have no idea. Doesn't matter. I'm moving on because I don't care. Lance Stroll and Alonso, though, that was one I found that they sort of put it down that there was issues with the car. They were saying Alonso was possibly some debris damage. Stroll had that collision with it wasn't Hulkenberg. Who was the collision with then into the stadium section? Oh, it was only towards the end of the race. Who the hell did he collide with? Jesus. Anyway, he had some collision. Doesn't really matter. Oh God, we're all asleep tonight. Why do they have to have these late races? God
I know, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough going.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about? Who cares? Aston Martin, right? Yeah. I think they could have kept going. I'll be honest. I just think they were having such a shocking race. I think they just thought it was better just to preserve the engines and just retire the car. Didn't look like there was any reason why they couldn't continue. They were doing shit, and I just think they realized they weren't going to make any inroads. They were going to be sitting at the back of the pack with maybe there was some minor damage, but not enough damage that wasn't going to allow them to continue. So they decided just to retire both cars towards the end. But I mean, when we saw the restart, even like on lap 35, like Alonso took up the back of the grid. And you're just like, this, I was only saying to Jing, like, I was like, this is a guy that was on the podium regular at the start of the season. We're like, wow, this could, we were expecting when their upgrades come that they might be challenging Red Bull for race wins. Like,
yeah.
Now they're picking up the back of the pack. Like, what the hell happened there? Like,
yeah. Has there ever been such a monumental drop off in form around all of the hype that was actually involved in Aston Martin at the start of the season?
I don't think I could recall a team dropping off like that. I mean, you might see a individual driver dropping off, like for example, Sergio Perez, he started off great and then just tanked. So you see things like that, but for a whole team just to tank, ridiculous. But then again, I don't think I've ever seen a team do the reverse of that, which is McLaren. Like I think it was the Silverstone upgrades, wasn't it, that just turned them into an absolute rocket ship. Yeah. So that's the other side of that coin.
I think it's possible that maybe Zach Brown went down to the crossroads and sold his soul to the devil or something, because those boys had a serious turnaround, haven't they?
Oh, unbelievable. Absolutely class. Like, and like I said, I like a bit of soft spot for McLaren. So I'd like to see him do well.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Dave, I have no more questions about today's race, mainly because I fell asleep halfway through. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Anything else to add? I have to say there was some great battles towards the end of the race. I thought DanielRicciardo could have taken George Russell towards the end there. So if I'm going to throw a negative spin on DanielRicciardo, I think he should have maybe taken that spot. Some good battles going on. Oh, actually, do you know, the other thing was fucking Esteban Ocon telling, do you remember over the radio, tell Haas to be ready because I'm about to fucking send it into turn 1 or whatever. Do you remember? And then it was like 10 laps later, the commentator's going, see Ocon's still behind Hulkenberg. Like, couldn't get it done. I was like, that is embarrassing. It's like a baseball fucking player, and he's fucking I don't know what you call it, baseball, a batter, whatever. You're the guys that caught and they call their shots, and then he just fucking sends it up into the crowd or something behind him, and it's exactly like that.
Hits himself in the nuts with the bat or something.
Yeah. You just don't call it. Like, unless you're gonna do it, don't call it.
Yeah. But like Alpine season, I don't think anyone's really going to remember that. Dave, is it prediction time?
It is prediction time.
Before that, we have the driver of the day and loser of the day. No.
Oh, sorry. We should have just let Isidro on the show. Me and Scotty are asleep. We were sharing a duvet earlier.
It was so cozy.
A duvet. Sorry. Yeah, driver day. Okay. I'll go first. My driver of the day. I actually had a few going for a while, but I kind of wanted it to be DanielRicciardo, but it has to be Lando Norris. I mean, that was absolute pure beast mode. Like, there's no question.
Yeah, no, same page. Yeah. I think we're all on the same page. I like you. I had Ricciardo for a little while, then I fell asleep, and Lando Norris, when I woke up, was way up the grid. So I'm gonna have to.
You just automatically your driver today, just based on position.
He had to be, yeah. So yeah, Lando for me too, and you, Isidro, probably.
Yeah, Norris, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, my loser of the day. I mean, I think if we're not all agreeing on this one as well, it's got to be Sergio Perez.
Yeah,
home.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was an absolute train wreck.
Yeah, home run there. I think all right.
Second loser of the day, I'll pick Alfa Romeo team because they had P9 and P10 qualifying, and they finished 16 and 14 and 15. So basically the last ones.
Alfa Romeo, they basically they couldn't have finished any further back.
Yeah,
I think they would have been in Formula 2 if they finished any further back.
Yeah, such a disappointing team overall this season, isn't it? Like,
checked out. They're going to be, aren't they, back to Sauber for next year until Audi come in, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Alfa Romeo brand is gone for next season.
Yeah, it probably gave up on that pairing as well, in fairness.
Right. Predictions. Are we on predictions, Isidro, or have I jumped the gun again?
Predictions.
Okay, thank you.
No, let's go.
Okay. Right. Well, this is a shit show because well, I'll just call them out. Let's just go through it. So I went with Verstappen, great. Went with Hamilton, great. And then I went with Perez, P3. Not so great.
So yeah, likewise, I went for Verstappen, Hamilton, all good, and then I went Norris P3.
Could have happened.
Yeah,
could have happened.
So close.
Is he dragging? Would you go with
Verstappen first, Hamilton second, and Alonso third?
Jesus.
Oh,
there was more chance of Perez finishing third than Alonso. Right, my flop was Yuki Tsunoda outside the top 10. Just about.
Not that much flop, I have to say.
What?
Almost not a flop.
Oh yeah, I know. I just about got away with that one.
Yeah, skin in the teeth.
Especially because Tsunoda shot himself in the foot.
Yeah,
causing a little touch with Piastri, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Oh, yeah, I didn't actually mention that. I was kind of saying that earlier. Oh, I'm half asleep. Sorry, everyone's for the shit podcast, but I blame the late hour.
Yeah, my call for flop was Stroll outside the top 10, and for the longest time this was the case.
Yep.
But they fucking retired the car,
and it became a DNF.
Dickbags.
I had the Ricciardo DNF.
Do you know? And I could have seen that coming as well.
Yes,
but all right. Okay, so my surprise was Alonso top 10. Well, that would have been a surprise. So that's a goose egg for me.
I said Piastri top 10, and that did happen. Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And we know what
I
happened
went with the Bottas top 10, and after the qualifying, I thought, oh, looks good for me. No, it didn't.
No. Could I also point out that the week that none of us said Albon top 10, it fucking happened.
I know, like, it's nearly every fucking week we all call like. In fact,
Because we
scrolling back here,
couldn't.
there's not a single week that's gone by
Yeah.
that not one of us has said fucking Alex Albon top 10.
It's the
But now
curse. We curse
but we
Alex
can't use
Albon.
it next time.
All right, there should be a rule now that no one can call Albon top 10 just so he can get some points this season. All right, well, that means that me and Scotty shared the points this week. And that puts me on 11 points. Oh, which means I moved to the top of the table. That
It's
puts
official.
Scotty on 9. So that's me on the top, Isidro in second on 10, and Scotty third with 9. But catching quick.
Yeah, I gained a point, but also lost a place this week. I went from second to third, officially. After getting a point, because you and Isidro were joint first.
Oh yeah,
With 10.
yeah.
So-
I had to undo the what I just typed in because I was like, hang on, how did that happen exactly? And then, that makes sense. Okay, so 11 and 9. All right. So tits on a bike. Hang on a second. There we go. All right. Okay, so Brazil. I am going with Max Verstappen P1, Lewis Hamilton P2. P2 and Lando Norris P3.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to change my predictions.
Well, I'm guessing then Isidro the same. It looks like he's all had the same.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going Verstappen 1, Hamilton 2, and I'm gonna go Leclerc P3. I guess because I did have Norris.
Isidro.
Yeah. Verstappen first, Hamilton second, and then Russell.
Ooh, I thought you might say Alonso.
I mean, if you
Alonso's
all had
gone.
the same predictions, like you can still call the same predictions. I guess it doesn't make it too much fun because it's
Yeah. You want to try and have an edge, really, when you come into.
yeah,
It's getting that time of the season where it's go big or go home.
yeah, exactly.
You know.
All right, my flop is going to be. I haven't prepared anything, so I'm gonna go. Do you know? I'll go with. Do I? Oh yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go. George Russell.
Ooh.
Outside the top 10.
Oh wow. Based on.
I think he's gonna have a. I think he's gonna qualify well. I think he's gonna be starting probably on the second row of the grid, and then he is going to collide with someone in the Senna S's or something and spin out, and he's gonna be at the back of the pack and not make his way through.
Lovely. I love that part of the course.
I predicted it right down to actually every process of what's going to happen.
Sounded kind of like, didn't K-Mag do that last year? Something like that. He qualified unbelievably well, and
That's
then
right.
like that.
Well,
collided with
wasn't there
someone.
there was a bit of weird circumstances though, wasn't there? Wasn't it something to do with the rain? Called it off or something like that?
Yeah, there was something. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do it purely on pace. I think there was some
No.
reason behind why they got. Yeah, I can't remember now.
Yeah, interesting on that one.
right,
My flop, my flippity flop. Oh, DanielRicciardo outside the top 10. He.
No, I'll give it to you because, like, I think there's every chance he could finish inside the top 10 in Brazil.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's okay.
My flop will be Piastri, DNF.
Oh, DNF.
Ooh. Wow. Just a shot in the dark, or any particular reason?
No,
Okay.
especially because he's been driving well in the McLaren. It's been okay. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Tsunoda will get his revenge in Brazil.
Perfect. I love that one. That's very good.
All right, my surprise is gonna be Jesus. What is my surprise gonna be? Oh, I'm going Big Air. Fuck it. I'm going with both Aston Martins inside the top 10.
Oh.
That deserves a double point if that happens.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Just 1 point.
For 2 Aston Martins inside the top 10?
Yeah.
Fine. All right, grand. Alonso
Unless you can
inside the
specify
top
the
10.
position.
Good point, Dave.
All right, Alonso inside the top 10. Fuck yes.
Okay.
You could have gambled. I could have got like Alonso could get the top 10 and Stroll not, but I could have called both. And all you had to do is kind of go, oh yeah, we'll give you the 2 points, Dave, because we know for a fact Lance Stroll isn't getting a top 10 finish. But no, he's wouldn't let me have it. So
no. It's that time of the season. I don't know if I'm going to get this one, but anyway, my surprise, Sergio Perez inside the top 10.
Yeah, of course not.
Oh. Okay. But he did finish outside the top 10 today. Oh no, he didn't. He had a DNF. Slightly different, I suppose. Right. I am going to say there's actually
Rubens
nothing.
Barrichello inside the top 10.
There's nothing I can say. Pierre Gasly inside the top 10. Give me that one.
Gasly.
Gasly finished 11.
He did, which is outside of the top 10.
So do you know, next season there should be a rule that there has to be some sort of like, they have to be 3 races outside the top 10 before they can be allowed into a top 10 surprise.
Yeah, sure. But it's not there this season, so give me Gasly top 10, please. Look how unhappy his face is.
Gasly, top 10. Hope he gets 11.
Yeah, I know. You're going to be so happy if he gets 11.
I couldn't give a shit if none of my predictions come up, and if Gasly gets 11, they'll be delighted. All right, Isidro.
Tsunoda inside top 10.
Tsunoda.
Yep.
Top 10. I mean,
yeah, Tsunoda's shit. Give him that.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen, but yeah, I'll give you that. That's fine.
Although it goes against my prediction of Piastri DNF because of Tsunoda.
That's right. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's well. All right. Okay. Let's stop rocking the dead horse. Let's just drag this animal around the back of the sheds and put a bullet in it. Fucking train wreck. This has been the K-Mag of podcasts. Fucking just a broken suspension to start with and then sent it into the wall to finish it.
It's been enjoyable, though. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. But we will be back, I think it's next week for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we should be a little bit more awake for that one. So hopefully we will deliver a little bit more of a coherent podcast. But until next week, we shall see you then.